Peace, family. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. This is Tuesday. We're going to have a brief podcast today. It is Tuesday, April 21st, 2026, and I'll come on the camera in just a few minutes. But first, let's listen to the intro. We're going to talk about how the government is gone. Family, come on in the room. Yes, come in the room, family.
Dr. Kia Pruitt, shining wisdom's light, teaching soul tribe how to see through the night. Ancient scriptures and bloodlines she knows, spreading truth wherever she goes. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. Through her channel, knowledge flows, breaking chains that hold us close, teaching paths to abundance and wealth, guiding others to free themselves. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. From currencies to investments divine, she's helping her tribe to realign with wisdom, ancient and new, showing what we all can do. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia lights the way to a new and brighter day.
Hey, family, come on in. We'll get started in just a few minutes. Waiting for everybody to check in. Good evening. Good evening, family. I hope you enjoyed the intro. I see some of you said you did enjoy the intro. I want to give thanks to Brother Kenneth from our private group. He wrote this song for the Dr. Kia Pruitt show almost a year ago, so I'm very grateful to him. Many of you have expressed your gratitude for the song and say that you really enjoyed it. So I'm happy to hear that. Peace to you all, Soul Tribe. Good afternoon, Grand Rising, Joyous Rising. Good evening, good night, depending upon where you're hailing from. I see the Soul Tribe coming in from all over the country and all over the world. You said you love the intro. Yes, thank you so much, Reverend Dr. JC. Tucson, Arizona's in the house. So if you watched the show last night with Sheik Jacob Bey, he let us know that this is the final curtain call. He said that even President Trump, and as you all saw on his Truth Social, announced that he did it his way and this is it, it's over. But a lot of people do not or have not quite understood the gravity of it all. People didn't understand or comprehend that it's really over. The government does not exist anymore. The United States Incorporated is insolvent. The Treasury Department, as I've said many times, issued a report stating that the United States Incorporated cannot pay their debts. They're insolvent, they're bankrupt, defunct, they don't exist. So I'll tell you when it's becoming a reality for most people is when they've been receiving email, letters, and notifications that they're not going to come back to work as of the end of the summer. Now, I'm going to get into the podcast in just a few minutes. I'm going to let people keep checking in. I do want to tell you all that Chief Sheik Jacob Bey did say if he saw some breaking news, he will come on tonight and let us know what he sees that's going to happen, because this is Tuesday. And I've often said that a lot of government announcements happen on Tuesday, especially major announcements, inauguration speeches, those type of things usually happen on Tuesdays. And this is Tuesday, April the 21st, 2026. So we'll see if there's an announcement that happens today or this evening. I heard that Trump is going to speak at 7 p.m., but when I Googled it, I couldn't find that he was speaking tonight. But I will say that on the phone call that I had with Sheik Jacob Bey the other day, he told me that this starts the beginning of the 17th week. So the first of the week starts on Sunday. When you Google it, it says Monday or Tuesday starts the beginning of the 17th week. But here we are, 17. 17 represents Q. And we know about the 17th movement. We've been told about Q giving us intel. And people can make fun of people who understand or overstand that Q was military intel being dropped to we the people to let us know what was going to happen. President Trump said when he came in his first administration that he was going to totally obliterate the deep state, that he was going to end the Federal Reserve, and he was going to return us to the republic and to the gold standard. That was all a part of Make America Great Again. So it doesn't matter that people say MAGA folks are nuts. It doesn't matter that people say that people who speak about Nasara Jassara are fanatics and they know they know not what they speak. It doesn't matter because they're quiet now. Their podcasts calling us crazy and all these type of names, really, they're not faring too well. Not aging too well, because just like President Trump said, he's obliterating the deep state. He's returning us to the republic. He's making America great again. And what's interesting is that even Americans were asking, when was America ever great? And I thought, wow, we don't know our history, do we? And even if you thought America never was great, why would anybody speak against a president who said, let's make America great again, seeded into the consciousness that America is a great nation? But let's get right into the podcast. We have 421 people in the chat. Keep checking in, family. A lot of people did not understand or understand or overstand or comprehend the gravity of the overturning of the Chevron Doctrine. I'm going to get into how teachers have been laid off. Attorneys and judges have been arrested and laid off. Hundreds of thousands of government workers have been let go. Fortunately, some of them have taken early retirement, but they didn't understand the gravity. So we'll get right into the podcast because I see people online crying because they lost their jobs. And I get it. I'm getting phone calls about teachers that I know that are in my family losing their job. They don't know what they're going to do as of August 2026. But you see, they did not know or did not pay attention to President Trump saying he's going to totally obliterate the deep state. They did not know or pay attention to the government shutdown. They did not know, comprehend, understand, overstand, or pay attention to the overturning of the Chevron Doctrine that occurred the summer of 2024. And some of these people are the same ones that, they kind of took a tongue-in-cheek approach to making fun of people who were saying, prepare, be proactive. They thought, I have time. But we always talk about biblical references to, parables. This is why I don't make fun of the Bible. I don't, because there's a lot to be gained from parables. So there's the parable of the 10 young virgins. 5 were foolish, 5 were wise. They all had to prepare for the wedding feast or the wedding supper of the Lord. They were all told to get ready. They didn't know when the bride was coming to enter them into the feast, the bridegroom's wedding. 5 of them got ready, got prepared, trimmed their lamps, kept their lamps burning, because back then you had to have oil. We're talking about oil today for their lamps. 5 of them got the oil. They got the food that they needed. They got their clothes ready. And at midnight, when a trumpet was sound, the bridegroom came and said, hey, let's go into the feast. It's time. Now, 5 foolish virgins said, we got time. We're going to take our time. We're going to rest on our laurels. Forget about going and trimming the lamps. Remember the song, keep your lamps trimmed and burning. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. The time is drawing nigh. 5 foolish didn't keep their lamps trimmed and burning. So at midnight, when the cry was heard and the bridegroom came, the 5 wise virgins entered into the wedding feast. They that were ready went into the feast. They that were ready went into the feast. They that were ready went into the feast of the marriage supper of the Lamb. But what happened to the foolish ones? The ones that didn't prepare. They cried unto the wise, oh, give us some of your oil. They cried unto the wise, but the wise said not so. Why did they cry? They cried asking the wise, give me some of your oil. But the wise answered and said, not so, lest there be not enough for thee and me. So 5 foolish virgins did not prepare. So when the bridegroom came, the 5 ones that prepared, the wise ones went into the marriage supper of the Lamb. They entered the feast. The 5 foolish did not. They weren't prepared. So we're living in a time right now where we still have time to get prepared, because we've entered into a new season. It's a new season. It's a new day. My husband, God rest his soul, was a musician. So every time I think of something, I think of a song. Some men tell me all the time, your whole life is a song, Dr. Pruitt. I love that. You just rhythmic. You just flow. You're the way you move, the way you talk, the way you sing. I love that. My life is a song. Everything you touch is a song. I can't remember what group came up with that, but a lot of people were not ready for this day that has come. In 2024, the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron Doctrine, which had given the government unlimited powers. They said the United States Incorporated was an illegal, unlawful, treasonous government that had to be taken down. They were only reiterating what Pope Francis had said in his letter to Obama called Motu Proprio in 2014, just 10 years before. Pope Francis had said, all presidents are presidents of a corporation called the United States Incorporated, which incorporated itself in 1871 as a nonprofit religious organization in Delaware with its own constitution called the Constitution of the United States. Pope Francis then said Obama and all presidents before him were CEOs and presidents of the corporation who serves what's in the best interest of the stakeholders of said corporation, and that they are not presidents of the republic or the people, and neither do they serve the best interest of the people. He went on further to say, at some specific time, we will be forced to step down. So he said, I advise all of us to step down. This is what the Pope said: all presidents, all court officials, all administrators, erroneously called judges, all attorneys must step down, all policy enforcers, all court officials, and everything attached to the United States Incorporated. All 400 and so or more organizations that are called government entities must stand down. We must all cease and desist. And if we do not, General Ham, can't think of his first name, will be put in charge of the Grand Army of the Republic to force us to stand down. Did they stand down? No, they did not. He went on further in motu proprio and he said, we have used the African Americans after the Civil War as chattel property to pay off our debts. And then it became our policy to enslave everyone to pay off our debts. And because of this, we have to pay recompense and we have to stand down. Again, he said, and if we don't, we'll be forced to stand down. That happened in 2014. 2024, Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron Doctrine and said all 400, back then it was 444 government agencies, now it's 446, are hereby and hereto considered treasonous. We must stand down, same thing that the Pope said, is unlawful and unconstitutional. All of the government entities serve what's in the best interest of the British Crown. Therefore, every single government officiant and agent must stand down because they're treasonous, unconstitutional, and unlawful. Summer of 2024. Here comes President Trump 2025, and what does he do? He creates the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, which interestingly enough, the Doge coin came out before then, seeding into our consciousness that Doge was about to be in charge. He puts Elon Musk over the Department of Government Efficiency, and they start immediately downsizing the government. He first attacks U.S. aid, and then he starts laying off a whole lot of workers. We'll get to this one in a minute. How many workers did he lay off? Over 300,000 government workers were laid off. That's just part of the plan. So now that I'm getting calls from teachers saying, oh my God, I lost my job, I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm doing my best to encourage them to say, remember we were talking about NASARA and JASARA, the National Economic Security Reformation Act, the global version of that, the Global Economic Security Reformation Act. This is all a part of that plan to downsize the government. But what will happen is that everybody will have access to their birth certificate bond. Everybody's going to have a certain amount of money to come to them every month. They have to do it because the government is insolvent. They have to do it because the government no longer exists. As of April 2026, the Trump administration significantly reduced the size of the federal government through mass layoffs, program eliminations, and agency restructuring. Since returning to office, as I said, in January 2025, the administration has let go approximately 355,000 federal employees and targeted more than a dozen programs for elimination. We understand why he's letting these programs and departments go. But just in case people are not quite sure, it's because the United States Incorporated is not our lawful republic. It's not what was meant to be ahead of the people. We're supposed to be sovereign. We're sovereign. We don't need a government entity. We were never supposed to be controlled by the government. Control, govern, the mind, meant. Thank you for 672 people being in the chat. Please hit the like button. Over 355,000 government officials have been laid off. So why are teachers calling me now? I have some that are telling me, oh my God, as of August 2026, we won't have a job. We're looking for jobs. They're fretting, and I get it. Be encouraged. I see people crying and weeping. Be encouraged. We've been saying this is going to happen. Shout out to Chief Rod Hayes, who told us, remove your children from the public school system. Couple things are going to happen. They're going to start triggering some of those sleeper cells that are doing things like shooting up schools, harming children. Take out the children from the public schools. They're going to cease to exist. Take your children out from the public schools. This liberal education, teaching them about things that have nothing to do with reading, writing, and arithmetic, is propaganda to destroy our children, destroy the family. He said that last year. He probably been saying it longer than that. But I don't think people really knew or understood that March 2025, President Trump created or signed an executive order. He called it the Impacting Education Outcomes Executive Order. And that executive order was to close the Department of Education and to return the duties of the Department of Education to the states and local authorities. United States Department of Education is gone, family. Remember, the Treasury Department, I reported this, said last month that $1.7 trillion of student loan debt was transferred from the United States Department of Education to the Treasury Department. Why? Because the Treasury Department is the only department that can deal with money, banking, or any such thing, according to our lawful republic. Talk about making America great again. The United States Department of Education is closing, and in that particular report by the United States Treasury Department, they said this is part of Trump's plan to dismantle the Department of Education. Then they went on to say, we are the experts. You see, because before the federal government said they were the experts and all 446 government agencies were the experts. And this is why whenever we didn't abide by whatever the government said, they would handcuff us, send our policy enforcers or police officers after us, haul us off into their courtrooms and force us to pay penalties. But you know what the Supreme Court of the United States did in 2024 when they declared the United States Incorporated to be insolvent and unlawful and treasonous? And they overturned the Chevron Doctrine. They said all judges who participated in the shenanigans of the United States government are also treasonous. They committed treason, and all judges that knew of a judge that participated and didn't report it to the president, they committed misprision of treason. So you see, judges or attorneys and administrators have been complicit in our enslavement. Now, let's get back to the Department of Education. In March of 2025, President Trump signed an executive order called the Impacting Education Outcomes Order to close the Department of Education and return the duties to the state and local authorities. Do you know why? Because according to our lawful republic, states are sovereign. According to our lawful republic, states are countries. States have more power than, and local governments or local authorities have more power than anything federal, because the only power the federal government has is what the people give to it. So now states are over education. And this is why President Trump froze money at the United States Department of Education when he closed it. And then he released that money and funneled it to the states. You know why he funneled it to the states? The money that was at the federal level of the Federal Department of Education, because now states can give scholarships to parents or monies to parents who decide to homeschool their children or send them to private school. Why? Because public schools will cease to exist. Publicly funded schools are schools funded by the United States Incorporated. Remember, I said it's gone. The Department of Treasury issued out a report that said they were insolvent. And that report actually came out in 2025. It's just that mainstream media did not report it. They didn't announce it. But not only did President Trump sign an executive order in March 2025 called Impacting Education Outcome, closing the Department of Education and returning those duties to the states, local authorities. But the following year, this year, 2026, he said that all of the federal Department of Education employees had to leave the headquarters office in Washington, D.C. So they had to leave the Lyndon B. Johnson headquarters building and move to a smaller office. And they have to do so by April this year, 2026. If you look at the articles, they say this is part of President Trump's plan to dismantle the Department of Education. That is why teachers are getting laid off and let go. Teachers and other people who work in the Department of Education and administration all over the country, hundreds and thousands of them have gotten notifications that this is their last year. But my encouragement to you is that you can position yourself now. You can look for a job, but you can also start accumulating assets. You can take the money that you have in the bank, take some of the cash out. You can roll it over into gold and silver, because gold and silver and copper are going to increase in value, because it's a basic economic principle that as the US dollar decreases in value, gold and silver increases in value. And you know what's happening? I'm getting calls now to say, oh my God, the United States dollar is plummeting in value. I did lose some of my retirement account, or the retirement money that I had is decreasing in value, whereas silver and gold is increasing in value. You told me this years ago, and it's okay. But you still have an opportunity. And even if you say, I don't have money to put into silver, gold, or copper, copper is probably about $6 an ounce. Silver is about $77 an ounce. Gold is about $4,300 an ounce. It's okay. Do what you can, or you can get foreign currencies, because all currencies are going to revalue all across the globe because they've been devalued due to war and sanctions. They're all going to revalue and go up in value and be placed back to their normal pre-war and pre-sanction value. But when you take into account for us all moving to the gold standard, and all these countries have repatriated their gold back to them, and all these countries now have trade agreements with each other, the revaluation of those currencies will be more than a reinstatement, because now they will be backed by the resources in their countries. So all countries' currencies are going to be one-to-one with each other. They're all going to revalue. You all can put in the comment section what countries. Can you push that stove? Turn it off for me. Which countries' currencies you should get. Somebody put it in the comment section. But if you don't have money for currency, you don't have money for gold, you don't have money for silver or for copper or for digital assets. Some people will talk about XLM, XRP, XDC, HBAR. I'm not a big investor in digital currencies. I don't really understand them as much as I understand or know about silver and gold. But find out the information or learn about how you can get into those. Just public notice, okay? I'm just putting that out there. But even if you don't have money for that, family, we will all receive money through Nasara and Jasara. It's just like Qatar. This isn't anything new. It's just that people don't know about it. Look at Qatar. Qatar is an oil-rich nation. Almost every single citizen or person in Qatar has wealth because they all get an allotment of money. It's not called necessarily universal basic income, but they all get money because Qatar, Qatar, for those who don't know, is an oil-rich nation. They have things like the sovereign wealth fund. Every one of their people get money and allotment because they share the wealth there. That's not the only country. Other oil-rich countries, you do have some that are not doing as well because they're in debt because they didn't make good use of the money that they have. I looked it up, I know. You have to be smart about how you manage the money. So the money that we will all get through NASARA and JASARA will be put into a non-interest bearing account over a certain amount of years. Some say 10, some people say 10, 11, up to, a certain amount of years. Some people say into perpetuity, because we all have a birth certificate bond. At the time of our birth, our bond was securitized, traded on the New York Stock Exchange and other stock exchanges, accumulated interest. That money's going to come back to us. But in addition to that, when Trump came back, President Donald Trump came back in 2025, he created the Sovereign Wealth Fund. It's one of the first things he did. The Sovereign Wealth Fund is comprised of stocks, bonds, real estate, rare earth minerals, precious metals, trade money, deals money, and all different type of wealth for humanitarian projects, to invest in the people, to invest in the road, to invest in infrastructure and investments outside of America. And when he created the Sovereign Wealth Fund, President Trump said many other nations have that. We just didn't know about it because we were continuously taxed and treated as slaves to pay off the debt of the United States Incorporated. That's over. They don't exist anymore. Who is they? The United States government, the United States Incorporated. They no longer exist, family. So everything that has been stolen from us, family, will be returned. And it's interesting that people don't see that President Trump is actually someone who has been chosen to lead the military to bring about this change. But they'll see. People will see. The same ones that are in the comments saying he's not done anything. They will see. And it doesn't matter if he gets the praise for or accolades for it or not. The same people that didn't understand or overstand will be the first ones at the bank or at the wealth management centers cashing them checks or enjoying the money. So many of President Trump's plans or executive orders have gone into effect as soon as he came in. I think he signed like 225 executive orders in 2025. Hold on, son. Now, in 2025, they only talked about 15 government programs or organizations that had been cut. They call it Trump 2.0. But you saw earlier, more than 355,000 jobs left. What are those departments? The Environmental Protection Agency Climate Research Office, the National Endowment for the Arts also lost their federal funding. The Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Accessibility was eliminated. The Department of Energy's Renewable Energy Office was merged and defunded. Why? Because the government doesn't have any money. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was restructured and downsized. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting lost federal support because there's no money. The National Organic and Atmospheric Administration climate monitoring programs were cut. The Office of Gun Violence Prevention was completely abolished. The Department of Education Office for Civil Rights saw major reductions. I'm reading straight from the article. The Federal Workforce Training and Innovation Program was canceled. The National Institution of Health saw major grant reductions. The Department of Housing and Urban Development's community development block grants were cut. The Environment Justice Program was shut down. The Department of Labor Women's Bureau programs and grants were cut. The Office of Science and Technology policy was drastically reduced. Why? I'm going to leave that for you in the description section. I also put it in the chat because the government is gone. Govern yourself accordingly. Not yet. How can you govern yourself accordingly? Stay grounded, keep your mind focused, and know that you are sovereign. You have solve over. Reign, ruling means rule and control. You have reign, rule, and control over your own life. We already have a lawful republic in place. It was not gone. It was working concurrently with the United States Incorporated. You had the republic. The United States Incorporated had a constitution of the United States Incorporated. The republic has a constitution for the republic. They were operating concurrently. There were people that were still operating in the republic, even though the United States Incorporated, all 446 government agencies was controlling our lives. You had people who never paid taxes, didn't abide by the IRS, never had to get a license for marriage or traveling that they called driving, never had to have a license for anything because they knew they were sovereign and they knew how to operate according to the republic. I'm not even talking about the sovereign citizens. That's not a whole thing. You can't be sovereign and a citizen. They made fun of people and called them sovereign citizens. But we know you cannot be sovereign and a citizen. You can't be free and a slave. A citizen is a slave. A citizen is beholden to the United States Incorporated. They have privileges. Sovereign principles, sovereigns have rights. They're not slaves. So the republic was working right along with the United States Incorporated, but now it's gone. It's been defunded. It's bankrupt. It's insolvent. You can Google it. I've shown you reports. The report came out in 2025. Most people didn't even know about it. I found out several weeks ago from an ex-Marine, and then I reported it. Yes, people heard that it was insolvent, but no, people didn't know that the United States Treasury Department deemed it as insolvent. The Treasury Department is taking over. The Republic is taking over. So there are about 445 government agencies, maybe 446. They all have to be dismantled. Why? Because the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron Doctrine. There's a place you can look for that. I have put it in somewhere on my channel, my YouTube channel. Or you can go to the Federal Registry and look at all of the agencies that are called federal. They won't exist. We were never supposed to be controlled by the government family. And thank you so much for those of you who are sending me a gift. I thank you, Sister Linda, for sending me the donation. Thank you, Sister Shara, for sending me a donation. Thank you, Sister Yolanda and Sister Gloria. I appreciate you so much. So we were never supposed to be controlled by the government. So some people are saying that the whole Department of Education had to leave their headquarters office by April of 2026, between March and April. Some say March, some reports say April. Here we are. There won't be enough teachers if there are any public schools that will exist in August, it won't be a lot of them. Teachers by the hundreds and some places by the thousands are being let go. Some people are like, oh my God, what's going to happen to our children? You're going to have to educate them yourselves or go to some of the private school or start private schools. Now, those teachers that don't have jobs can be hired by us. No more depending on the government. And what about judges and attorneys? Let's talk about the judges and attorneys. I had to ask Google, have judges been arrested? Because when you were asking them before, they were like, no, judges have not been arrested. No, attorneys have not been arrested. But we know they have. And we know that court officials left by the tens of thousands. The Department of Justice let go tens of thousands of people last year and 70% of the workforce this year. Why? Because the government is going to cease to exist. So I looked up, have judges been arrested? Because remember, when the Supreme Court of the United States, SCOTUS, overturned the Chevron Doctrine, which had given the government unlimited powers, when they overturned that doctrine, they said that the United States Incorporated was operating unlawfully and treasonously. And they said that all judges that allowed for this to happen also committed treason. Any judges that knew of a judges that allowed this to happen committed misprision of treason. So of course they've been arrested. Yes, when you Google it now, AI says judges have been arrested with recent high-profile cases involving federal charges for obstruction and misconduct. On April 25th, 2025, Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested by the FBI for allegedly aiding a migrant and evading immigration officials, while former New Mexico Judge Jose Cano was also arrested on charges of tampering with evidence. Those are only two. Here are key details regarding the arrest of judges. Recent arrest, 2025. Judge Hannah Dugan was charged with 2 federal crimes, concealing an individual from arrest and obstructing of federal proceedings after allegedly helping an undocumented immigrant escape ICE agents. Didn't they tell you ICE is working for Americans? Because a lot of the people that were here unlawfully, not just illegally, but unlawfully. They weren't even supposed to be here. But judges were aiding and abetting and them allowing to stay here, even the ones that were trafficking children and drugs and laundering money. Other examples, former New Mexico Magistrate Judge Jose Cano and his wife were arrested for allegedly harboring an undocumented immigrant with gang ties and tampering with evidence. Other judicial crimes. Historically, multiple judges have been arrested, convicted, or impeached for various crimes, including bribery, extortion, and expose assault. Federal judge convictions. Former United States District Judge Samuel Kent became the first federal judge to plead guilty to SEX crimes, obstruction of justice, in 2009. They go on to say, while rare, a judge's immunity does not extend to criminal acts, and they are subject to arrest if suspension or suspected of violating the laws. If you go to resignation.info, and we're not going to go to that now because you can look it up, you'll see judges, attorneys, CEOs, bank administrators, presidents, prime ministers from all over the world, tens of thousands that have been let go, either forced to resign or forced to take early retirement, or they somehow came up unalived. Thank you so much for the Cash App blessing, for the gift. Thank you, Chief Mac. Thank you so much for the gift. I appreciate you. Thank you, Ashanti and Najee. God bless you. Have a smile on your family. Mass arrests have indeed happened. Thank you, Sister Janine. I appreciate you. That's our chat moderator. Absolutely. Mainstream media might not tell you this, but it is over. How can you Prepare. What should you do? Stay out the way. Like Sister Keisha says right here. Stay out of ICE's way. Stay out the way. Don't be in front in big crowds. Just mind your business, because the deep state, the cabal. Remember President Trump said, I will totally obliterate the deep state. He even said that when Biden was the so-called president. He would talk on his social media all the time and say, I'm going to totally obliterate the deep state. And when you obliterate the deep state, the United States Incorporated, whatever you want to call it, the Illuminati, the Masonic Order, the Freemasons, they're all the same thing. Skull and Bones, secret societies, Boule. When you dismantle them, the cabal, deep state, they might try to attack back. That's why they did the whole No Kings rally. That's why they're protesting against ICE. They know that they've been put on ice, frozen. This is why President Trump sent ICE agents to the airports to help TSA and other agents, because a lot of people trying to run out of here. They're trying to flee. They're trying to escape. The airport is not just a place to fly out and go out of the United States. There are also portals, airports, portals through which they're trying to escape. Through the portals, through the water ports, in the air, in the water, and on land. National Guard been sent on the land. They're trying to run. Bridges have been closed. We reported on that all over the country. Going into and out of Canada, been closed. Some report that some bridges in California, different places all over the country, bridges on the land closed. Airports closed, flights canceled, flights grounded. Ports and the water closed. All these portals and ports of entry closed because we're ending or closing maritime law, admiralty law, but also closing off portals through which these entities were coming in and going out because their time is up. So stay out of the way. What should you do? My son, Dex Lattimore, is an economist. He said, always have some cash on hand, because you never know if the bank goes on a bank holiday, if it freezes. Because I don't know if you all know this, there'll be times you'll try to go into banking, do mobile banking, and they'll say, we're sorry, your money's not available. Give us, come back, give us some time, you can come back. Well, we can't afford that to happen if we need gas or you need food, or the deep state might try to freeze your money for a while. And we know, we've heard that the money's mirrored on a quantum financial system or on a benevolent system, but we can't afford to have our money frozen. So my son, who's an economist, said, always have some cash on hand, put the rest, leave some in the bank to pay off the bills, have some on hand in case you got to make a decision. And because everything's collapsing, the stock market's collapsing, you're going to see digital assets go down. Right now, gold and silver has gone down some. You might want to buy some of these assets. And you just always need to be safe just in case. The rest, after you save something to keep in the bank, pay your bills, have cash on hand, use some to buy food, fill up your tank, get some water, whatever, however you know, or your tribe tells you to prepare. Do that. And then whatever you can afford to invest with, use that and invest it. And whatever you think is worthy. Foreign currencies, silver and gold, copper. Thank you so much for the Cash App gift, Joelle. I appreciate you. Appreciate you so very much. I am very, very grateful. You all don't have to do that, and I'm so appreciative. So look at this. This was sent to me by one of my friends. I think it was yesterday or the day before. April stock market collapsing from the 13th all the way to the 19th. And we only on the 21st. Look at that. That's on the post section of my Dr. Kia Pruitt channel, Dr. Kia Pruitt official channel. No, not in the post, in my shorts. Look in the shorts. And you'll see all the stocks. You see all these in the red? The stock market will collapse. Well, housing market crash is coming. A automobile crash is coming. You already saw silver and gold plummet. There was one day when everything plummeted at the same time, including a major bank earlier this year. They call it a financial black swan event. So prepare, because the government is gone. No government exists. Nobody's going to educate our children but us. And the state is us. So when those duties got transferred out of the United States Department of Education to the states and local communities, that's us. Do you know right now you can apply for grants and scholarships in your state to homeschool your children or to send them to private school? We got our notification. I looked into it earlier last year, and the notifications came out in February for those that were interested in the state of Florida to get scholarship money to homeschool. I'm homeschooling my grandchildren. Typically, you need to look the year before for the following year. A lot of people don't know that. That's called being proactive. Sometimes people wait to the last minute, but you still have time in most states to look for scholarships and grants for homeschooling and private schools. Because what do your children need to know other than reading, writing, and arithmetic? I mean, really, all parents don't know how to do that, but somebody in your family may, somebody in your church or your community may, or one of the teachers that got let go, they may know how to teach your children. And a lot of children actually will be learning by the computers. They're going to do the same thing that they did during COVID, most likely, send children home with a computer or not, or just give them some access to online education. Children know how to learn now. If they can get on TikTok and social media and dance and learn these dances and listen to all the conspiracies and talk and tell all their business, they can get on there to study and learn reading, writing, and arithmetic, with the parents sitting beside them, make sure their work gets done. Now we're just going to have to be very active parents and very active community members to help the parents, because parents shouldn't have to do this by themselves. It takes a village to raise a child. I agree with Antoine. This is real. And then what else do they need to learn? Whatever you know. Remember, there used to be bakers. You had local bakeries that were generational bakeries. 10 generations serving in the community. But what happened with Walmart and Target and Big Bear and some of these other places monopolizing in these big bakeries, Panera Bread, these big places taking over, they took over the mom and pop shops. Well, guess what's happening? Walmarts are closing, Targets are closing, Panera Bread. You don't know yet? If you don't know, now you know. We had a lot of major bank collapses since 2022. Who's going to fund those businesses? Not the banks. No longer can these people have access to our trust. A lot of commercial buildings are closed. A lot of malls are closed. So now, if you know how to bake, teach your children and your grandchildren, your nieces and your nephews. If Uncle Eddie, I had an Uncle Eddie, or Uncle Rollo or Uncle Pete has a junk hauling business, send Timmy out there to learn how to haul some junk. If Mike and Man work on cars, send Leroy and Danny Boy out there to learn to work some cars, because now you can be the mechanics for your community and your family. And let that be a generational business. If Farmer Dre, like we have Farmer Dre on our show from Set Apart Gardens, is the local farmer, support the local farmers in your community and learn how to farm. And if you don't want to learn how to farm or grow your own food or raise cattle, support those who do. Or pass that trait, if that is what you do, onto your children. Send the children outside. Why do they have to be in school for 8 hours anyway, other than to babysit the children? To daycare so that the parents can work. And we get that. But now the jobs are closing. This is real. Reading, writing, arithmetic. That's what the children need to learn. And whatever your culture is, social studies now is cultural studies. Whatever your culture, your tribe, your family, whatever values you have, whatever spiritual values, values surrounding wealth and money and finances, values surrounding morality, you can now teach. So they can learn that throughout the day by watching you. So now we're going to have to be very responsible for how we live our lives as adults. If you don't want your children to have a value of smoking weed, don't smoke weed. If you don't want your children and grandchildren to have a value of laying around, don't lay around. If you want them to have a value of being responsible adults, proactive adults, now we have the opportunity to live that life in front of them. No being lazy, no living off the government, no collecting welfare, food stamps, Section 8. That's gone. And we needed those benefits for a while because we have veterans, we have single moms, we have people that were impoverished, we had homeless people, but now those entitlement benefits are gone. Now we have to take care of our own elders. Now we have to take daycare and take care of our own children, educate our own children. Now the communities and the families have to come together. Now we have to lead by example. Whatever value we want our children to have and our grandchildren to have, those are the values we need to espouse and live by, because now they're going to be watching us all throughout the day. Those 8 hours they were in school, we could, work and do whatever we want to do. The school is going to be right at home or right in your local community. I think it's a blessing. But the government is gone. Say goodbye. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. Yes. The courts are closing, the schools are closing, and all government agencies are closed. You know what else is ending? Of course, the stock market is collapsing. Anything attached to the United States dollar, it's all collapsing. Doctors, nurses aides, they're being fired, let go, retiring early, encouraged to retire, and quitting. Doctors are saying we're done dealing with insurance agencies. Now, because I have medical professionals in my family, they're being asked by their administrators, how much more can we pay you to work more hours? And my family's like, we already work well over 40 hours a week now, and on units with 2, 3, 4 times the amount of patients we're supposed to have. You want to try to pay me to work harder and more hours? They can't do it. Nursing homes are closing. Hospitals are closing. Schools are closing. Banks are closing. Businesses are closing. Malls are closing. But whatever looks like a closing for some, or whatever is a closing for some, could be an opportunity for the rest of us. Does anybody know if President Donald Trump is speaking tonight? Because Sister Janine wants to know. I want to know. Sister Jolanda says, gratitude, Dr. Kia, to you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you more. Thank you. Yes, I saw that, Brother Tariq. Sheikh Jacob Bey told us that President Trump would be speaking from 2 Chronicles 7 and 14. Oh, you said it's at 6 today. It's supposed to be 7 o'clock my time is what I heard. 2 Chronicles 7 and 14 says something about, if my people which are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and I will heal their land. But Sheikh Jacob Bey said is 2 Chronicles 2, 7 and 11 through 22. I know 2 Chronicles 7 and 14 because I used to preach from that scripture often. So thank you, Brother Tariq. I'll read that again. We read it yesterday. You guys are saying President Trump is speaking today at 6. I heard it was 7. Let me get off of here so you can hear his speech. It talks about Solomon when Solomon had finished the temple of the Lord in the royal palace and has succeeded in carrying out all he had in mind to do in the temple of the Lord in his own palace. Second Chronicles 7:11. Now we're on verse 12. The Lord appeared to him at night and said, I've heard your prayer and have chosen this place for myself as a temple for sacrifices. When I shut up the heavens so that there is no rain, or command locusts to devour the land, or send a plague among the people. Here's my favorite verse in 14. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Now my eyes will be open and my ears attentive to the prayers offered in this place. I have chosen and consecrated this temple so that my name may be there forever. My eyes and my hearts will always be there. As for you, if you walk before me faithfully as David your father did, and do all I command, and observe my decrees and my laws, I will then establish your royal throne, as I covenanted with David your father, when I said, you shall never fail to have a successor to rule over Israel. But if you turn away and forsake the decrees and commands I've given you and go off to serve other gods and worship them, then I will uproot Israel from my land, which I have given them, and will reject this temple that I've consecrated for my name. I'll make it a byword and an object of ridicule among all people. This temple will become a heap of rubble. All who pass by will be appalled and say, why has the Lord done such a thing to this land and to this temple? Verse 22, people will answer, because they have forsaken the Lord, the God of their ancestors, who brought them out of Egypt, and have embraced other gods, worshiping and serving them. That's why he brought disaster upon them, brought them out of Egypt, brought them out of slavery. We just had Passover, where the children of Israel came out of slavery. Resurrection season, deliverance season. The death angel came by and it judged the slave masters. It judged the biblical Egyptians. But when the death angel came, it passed right over Israel, God's chosen and elect people, because they had applied the blood of the lamb to the doorpost. So the death angel passed over them. We're in Passover season still. Deliverance season, resurrection season, same thing. Easter, Passover. Passover was in the Old Testament, but Easter is the same thing. When the Romans took over, they just, some say, bastardized Passover by saying, you know what? They talk about the Israelites talk about Passover. They commemorate that. The time when God delivered the people out of Egypt and they passed through the wilderness then for 40 years. And then in the New Testament, those same Hebrew people still observing Passover. That's what the Last Supper was about. Witness the death, burial, and resurrection of the Christ. He was the ultimate Passover lamb. So the Romans said, well, you know what? We worship Ishtar, Ashtoreth, the goddess of fertility, the goddess of the spring, around the same time. So we'll put those two together and we'll do Easter. It's also New Year. All of this is really metaphysical for New Year, okay? For the rising of the sun. I think the sun stays up in the sky longer during spring. What they call it, the spring festival. This is the spring equinox, the first of the year. If they were farmers, they were agrarian society. So they didn't worship the sun, they venerated it, they respected it and honored it, because it helped them know which time, when it was a time to sow, when it was a time to reap. It was all about when to plant and reap your crops. And then you had, over time, some assigning, the Passover to that and the biblical story to that season, and then the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ. But suffice it to say, this is all resurrection season. It's all about a Passover. Who's being passed over? We, the people. Judgment is not touching us, it's passing over us, but judgment is reaching the United States Incorporated. Judgment is touching those who have enslaved us, the cabal, the deep state, the Illuminati. That's why they've been arrested. That's why their assets have been frozen. That's why they're going to military tribunals, because their time is up. The government is gone. Go ahead and say goodbye. The Department of Education is closed or is closing. They had to leave their headquarter office by this year, and it has to all be completed by the summer of 2026 and move to a smaller office, because this is part of Trump's plan to eliminate the government and eliminate the Department of Education. That's why the Treasury reported that $1.7 trillion of student loan debt was transferred to the Treasury Department. The Treasury Department also said they approved Trump's plan to phase out all paper money. What's paper money? United States dollar, USD. That's part of the Federal Reserve Central Banking System. Cash, money that's attached to United States Incorporated. The Treasury Department approved Trump's plan to phase out all paper dollars. But then the Treasury Department came and approved Trump's plan to issue out new currency with Trump's signature. Trump's currency with his signature will be gold backed. That will be used soon to phase out, or to transition the phasing out of the United States paper dollars, the USD. And then the article says, when it says the U.S. Department of Treasury approved Trump's plans to phase out all paper dollars, it says then to use in its stead cryptocurrencies and gold coins. Cryptocurrency is just digital coins. So the Federal Reserve is gone as well. Remember, Thomas Massey introduced the End the Fed Act in 2018, and then again 2020, then most recently. But he wasn't the only one to do that. The Supreme Court of the United States, the same year that they overturned the Chevron Doctrine, eliminating the powers of the federal government in 2024, the Supreme Court came back in July, right after they got rid of they overturned the Chevron Doctrine and said that the government had to be shut down, which, by the way, led to the shutdown. That's why we're under partial shutdown right now. They're not telling you it's completely shut down. But in July, the Supreme Court of the United States said that state-sponsored banks can operate independently from the Federal Reserve Central Banking System and issue out their own gold-backed currency. States now have power. They have power to educate their own children. They have power to issue out their own gold-backed currencies. They have power to operate as wealth management centers, formerly known as banks. They have power to create their own laws. They have power, or they utilize their sovereign power and authority to remove the state sales taxes from silver and gold. That's why the Sound Money Defense League came out with the article that said more than 45 states reclaim silver and gold as money by removing or repealing the state sales tax from precious metals. They are reclaiming gold and silver. Why is the state doing this? Because each state is a country. Our lawful republic is back online, and United States Incorporated has gone bye-bye. Say goodbye. Burn, burn, burn. Burn, burn, burn. Dun, 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 dun. Burn, burn, burn. Whatever that music is. Goodbye, United States Incorporated. We, the people, have our sovereignty back. So stay encouraged, family. No more tears. Know that you're sovereign and walk in your sovereign capacity. Create your own bank or wealth management center. Get some silver, gold, foreign currencies, uh, and digital currencies, formerly known as cryptocurrencies. Crypto means dead. We're not doing dead in this reality. And get your humanitarian projects in order, because you're going to be the ones that will help humanity in your community, in your families, and society in general. So some people are like, oh, courts aren't going anywhere. Prove it. What are you talking about? Well, I just showed you that attorneys and judges are being arrested. But when you look at it, sometimes you have to know where to go, line upon line upon line, precept upon precept, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. You got to sometimes line things up, go to different sources and line them up together. You'll see that the courts are shutting down, not just downsizing. I even looked it up, had to look at a whole lot of references. You can look at my post section of my Dr. Kia Pruitt official YouTube channel. And the post, I just put it up today, where I talk about the court system. Wait, I don't know. I hear some music in the background. 1 minute. Hold on, let me get out of there. I hear it, but I don't see it. I don't want to see that. Where is that noise coming from? Let me see where y'all hear that music, that noise. I hear it in the back, but I can't see it on my screen. Somebody talking about high value men and high value women, but I don't see it. I do not see it at all. I hear it in the background, but there's nothing up. They be tripping. Sorry about that, family. I don't know how to get over that. I can't find it. I hear something in the background. Can y'all hear that? I don't see it up. There's nowhere on my computer. That's wild. Can y'all hear that? Oh, Trump is, you don't hear it? Okay. Okay, good. Some people can't hear it. And Trump is, you can hear it? I don't see it. It's nowhere on my computer. Anyway, look at here. Look right here. The judicial branch has faced potential shutdowns right here. You hear it? It's nowhere on my computer. There's nothing up except for this. That's crazy. And now it's gone all of a sudden. Wow. Oh, no, it's not gone. There's nothing else on my screen. Oh, well. Bye, family. I love you. Peace. Good evening. Bye bye, family. I love you. Is someone in the chat? Hmm. Peace, family. Trump is speaking. Bye. I love you. Thank you for the Cash App blessings.